Good day and welcome back to another DB Legends video. In this video we're going to be taking a look at Ultimate Gohan as a part of the Dragon Ball Legends celebration, the Legends Fest 2023. They released two new Legends Limited characters, those being the Ultimate Gohan that transforms into Beast Gohan and the Green Legends Limited Evoken, people are calling them, which is the evolved Super Saiyan Blue Vegeta and the Kaioken Blue Goku. Now, in terms of units, I really like both, but I think Gohan is pretty interesting. So in base form, he's more defensive. His main ability allows him to nullify enemy special action covers. Depending on how many enemies he's got left, he'll gain a whole bunch of advantages. He can seal the enemy's Rising Rush, all very, very solid stuff. Then his passives are very interesting. He has a lot of tempo control, so when he comes in, if you've got 3 or fewer cards, he'll draw one. He cancels attribute downgrades. He randomly destroys enemy cards when entering the battlefield, which is good. Depending on how many timer counts have elapsed from the start of the battle, he'll gain damage inflicted, which is really solid. And then he restores his Vanishing Gauge a lot, like 70% every 4 timer counts, up to 3 activations, which is really, really good. And he nullifies the enemy's wide range special arts, which is really good. A lot of that's obviously in his transform state. Now, in his base form, he's basically similar, but just not entirely the same. So he doesn't have the wide range nullification. That's probably the one big thing. And then his abilities don't seal the enemies. His main ability doesn't seal the enemy's Rising Rush. Instead, he'll obviously transform. His abilities are still really good. He has the ability to restore Vanishing Gauge quite a lot, which is super duper helpful. Every time an enemy or an ally is hit with an enemy's arts attack, he will start to slowly restore his unique gauge until one's full. Once his unique gauge is full, he will nullify unfavorable element factors, which is very, very important. This is like the super big factor. And restore ally health by 15%, shorten substitution counts, and reduce enemy Dragon Balls. So his unique gauge is obviously super pivotal and relies a lot on allies getting hit. But that means you can also charge it obviously while he's off the field, which is really, really good. While he is on the field though, when the opposition activates a special arts move, Ultimate Arts, Awakened Arts, or Rising Rush, he does get 30% to his unique gauge, which is really crucial, and he shortens ally substitution counts by 4, which means you can in theory have him on the field, have him shorten the substitution counter for an ally, get the 30% activation up from the Rising Rush, and then switch in someone else to take the damage, which in theory is obviously pretty good. Now his special move does restore his Vanishing Gauge, which is very, very good, and his green card's very solid in that it destroys all special arts cards, which is again very, very, very good. So he does a lot, he controls a lot of the battlefield in his transform state. He also does a lot, as mentioned before, there's some really crucial factors like the nullification of wide range attacks, the strength of him as a unit, just in general, his abilities to nullify unfavorable element factors, his ability to reduce, so when he transforms is the big thing. If your unique gauge is full when he transforms, you are absolutely able to pressurize your opposition hugely. He reduces the Vanishing Gauge, he increases his own, he restores his health, he deletes their whole hand. It's a huge amount of pressure, and if you time it right, you can basically force your opponent into switching someone in, or alternatively force them to basically give up their unit, just due to how pressurizing his transformation can be, which is super clutch. Now I do find strike-based builds to work best for him, based on how I've been playing with him, based on the fact that he's not entirely tied down to his special move. He does feel like he actually gets a lot more benefit out of being strong in terms of strike-based cards than anything else. Unlike the blue Gohan, who feels super impactful from the blue card perspective, switch him in, get the cover change, activate blue card, do big damage. The red Gohan still does good damage with his blue card, but he feels way more like a pressuring unit. He feels very much more like really good at pressuring opposition. Strike cards do a lot of damage. He can really cause them some problems with the amount of Vanishing Gauge he can renew back. You can basically reduce their Vanishing Gauge to 0, constantly restore your Vanishing Gauge for like the first 4 or 5 time accounts, essentially throw a blue card in there, and you basically can vanish step like 2 or 3 times in the space of like a single action, and then you cause a lot of problems for the opposition realistically. Like you can pressurize very heavily, and the damage you do is very good. You do some really solid damage. You have a very high draw card speed level. I believe it's 2 if you have a full gauge, and yeah, it's just very solid. Now in the beast mode, the gauge fills up from key based charging, which is quite crucial because obviously key based charging will fill it up a lot faster, so charging your attacks or charging your key is kind of pivotal to making him function at this kind of like high level. The unique gauge itself, when you do fill it up, is pretty pivotal. It's how he nullifies unfavorable element factors, and it's how you're going to be able to really handle units like Janemba and Frieza and Goku when they tag in. You don't have any other form of nullification. Your blue card doesn't nullify unfavorable element factors straight away, but what you can do is if you basically reach the gauge, so if you reach the max gauge, you'll nullify unfavorable element factors, and then if you pop your blue card, you essentially will like completely obliterate the opposition anyway, because you'll have the increased sustained CUT effects to the opposition, alongside as well the huge effect of the nullification of the unfavorable element factors, and the blue card itself nullifies health restoration effects. So very big kind of switch plays there that you can do with him. I do find that he works fantastic when down. There's a lot of times where I've done a fight where I've been 2v1, 3v1, and he's had a great job of coming back, more through consistent vanish stepping and just controlling the tempo than him, you know, being horribly broken damage wise. I think he's actually quite well designed. His damage feels really good, but not too much. Now of course you can definitely improve the gear I have 100%, and you could apply a lot more Zenkai boosts to him. That's also very possible, but I feel like where I have him now is in a good space whereby he does around about enough damage, but being very consistent. I think the only thing I would say with him is he obviously doesn't have a health restoration or a revive mechanic. Of course, I think that would be way too much, but so you do need to be careful. Like here in the situation you can see here, being caught by a Rising Rush does still mean the end of Gohan's game. It's not a easy to get out of situation. With that being said, Gohan feels and plays really nicely. As you guys know, I'm not the best player of Legends. I'm not like a PvP god. I'm not the best PvP player to ever exist. And Gohan plays and feels very nice to use. He isn't invincible. You do still have to play him correctly, at least I feel. You have to know, when his vanishing gauges are going to kick in. You have to know when to expend them. You have to know when to utilize certain, like mechanics. You can't just walk around. He's not an instant win condition. He doesn't transform and you instantly win, but he does transform and gives you a very good chance of winning. I feel especially when you've managed to kind of get the opponent chiseled down, maybe you've got 2 of them left or you've left them all on relatively low health, that's when he can really clean up nicely, because you can then kind of do this thing very similar to the Ultra Vegeta, who obviously thrives on eliminating enemies. Eliminate enemies, restore vanishing gauge, eliminate enemy, restore vanishing gauge, and really just applies a lot of pressure, which can become a bit oppressive. Gohan kind of feels a little bit the same, where Gohan's kind of in the situation where you're like, okay, if I can have them low and I can net, let's say 2 or 3 or 4 kind of wins, if I can just kind of win this combo, all of a sudden you can clean up 2 units straight away, and then you'll have full vanishing gauge still. You'll still have great access to blue cards. You'll be close to probably unique gauge, and then you sit in a very good kind of situations. So yeah, for me, I think like when I look at Gohan, I feel like there's a very solid unit here. I feel like he's good. In his base, obviously, although defensive, he's not like impossible to kill, but he's very strong. He's very solid. Combo units, as always, are. He doesn't feel as strong a combo unit as, say, for example, the green tag Evoken or whatever people want to call them. I think, obviously, they kind of feel like, oh, okay, I'm getting my combo off and I can just really pop off. Whereas with Gohan, he feels like, okay, yeah, he can make impact, he can recover. And that's how I feel about Gohan. I feel like when I get him, I can make a good recovery. And I generally feel quite consistently happy with that. And very, very solid. You can see here, yeah, we're building up gauge, we're working towards things. We're managing to just keep him around. And I think this is super important when you consider things in the long run. Because, like, with him as a unit, there's always the propensity, like, okay, is this a new shift in the meta? And I think both of these units are not new shifts in the meta, although have very good places in the meta. I think Gohan, especially for me, can be probably one of the best units in the game, if not the best unit in the game, because he has this period of time where he just unequivocally controls the match. I feel like after transformation, he has, if you use him properly, he has complete control of the game. I feel like he has full control of the match when you transform him. For that brief period, the only way to wrestle control back is to have your own Gohan. I feel like he just has like complete like ownage of the battlefield and the tempo of which way the direction the battle's gonna go. It's much like the beginning with Ultra Vegeta. You know, when you face an Ultra Vegeta in the beginning, you have two choices. You either need to essentially clash or, you know, obviously like try to negate the attack coming your way, or alternatively you have to switch someone in to have Vanish Step or some kind of evasion mechanic. Those are your two options. You like have literally two options, and Gohan's kind of the same way when he transforms. You have like two options to make things work, otherwise you just have to go back to the drawing board, which is always oppressive. I do think he's designed well enough that he's not an auto-win condition. I think a lot of the times characters can end up being direct auto-win conditions, and I think they've done well enough that Gohan feels like he's not. Gohan feels like he's very, very consistent. Like you can screw him up. There's plenty of times where I've just lost my Gohan early on because I'm just not good. Like at the game, like it is possible. And so I think for me, like obviously outside of that, you know, I think that's a good position for units to be in. I think if you use him, if you just take a little bit of time to get used to him and to train and to get good at the character, he can be ostensibly oppressive. He can be absolutely ridiculous. I think though, if you fail or you don't use him properly, you can still fail with the unit, and I think that's a good place for the design meta to be, at least for me. Overall, I think he's great. He's solid, he's like good in base, and then he's exceptional as beast. I think I've really enjoyed, like I said, kind of coming back with him. I think comeback victories are honestly probably the big fun with him. He really feels like a unit you can just come back and win a match with, which is so fun to do, especially when you're someone like me who tends to start very, very poorly in matches. I don't really heat up until like I'm 1 unit or 2 units down, and so he feels very, very good from that regard. Like he just feels really strong, and I think for me that's where I really value him. And I think for me is where I really enjoy using him as a unit. Of course, you know, you can still suffer. You can still struggle with him. That's the beauty of his design. But I think I really, really enjoy using him, and I'm having a great time kind of doing these comeback fights and just, yeah, being in a position whereby like on top of things and able to make a comeback, and he's reliable, and yeah, just basically have a good time. And I think that's where he really thrives. Like here you can see this is kind of like perfect example, just a really good unit, and yeah, once he gets going he just has that control and that ability to win. And plus you get a really cool win screen, which I think is exceptional and really great. So yeah, all in all, awesome stuff. And who doesn't like to see Pan hug her dad? That's probably the best. But yeah, that's basically gonna be it for me. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Let me know your builds, what you suggest. It's always cool, and it helps me out as well, because like I say, I suck at PvP. So yeah, definitely let me know, and let me know how you feel about Beast Gohan. Which one do you think is better? And yeah, but that's gonna be it for me. Bye.